Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this finds you. Just want to do a real quick talk. I have some other ones coming out that are going to probably be real long. Try to break them up in maybe two or three videos. Not the same thing, but kind of along the same lines. I want to do a video about how the Christian church fosters racism. Maybe do another one talking about how the church promoted slavery and why they promoted slavery. And people think when you say things like that that you don't believe in the Bible. Oh, I believe in my Bible. I read my Bible every day. And you have a lot of other people out there who read the Bibles every day, but they think we're only supposed to be saving souls and nothing else. And I'm not gonna give too much information away, but that's just what I'm thinking about doing. Maybe the next couple of videos that I release on those alternate Mondays. Because many of you know I haven't released a video since I believe, I guess exactly a month. And looking at the date, today's the 14th. I think the last one was released on November 14th. But I just want to talk a little bit right quick, just a couple of minutes about our communities as black people. Because until we own our own professional businesses in our communities, all of our boycotting and protesting and all that is going to be short lived. And, I'm not speaking of any particular incident. It's just something that came across my mind. A lot of things come across my mind, especially late at night. And I'm not going to, if I'm in the bed, I'm not going to get up and record it. I mean, now, a lot of times I have done that. Well, I'll just wake up in the middle of the night and get out the bed and go and record a video. But in my state right now, that's really not a viable thing. But all of our boycotts and protests are going to be short lived until we own something. A 1 day boycott, a 1 day protest is not going to solve anything because we're going to eventually have to go back and depend on the very people and the very system that we're trying to boycott or protest against because we have nothing to go back to. Can we boycott as a people long term, especially seeing that all the studies have been done say the biggest group of consumers in this country historically and still right today is us. And so we have to give them our money. Like I said, you look at what happened with Kyrie, and this is not about Kyrie or Kanye, and you look at what Adidas did to Kanye, you look at what Kyrie did to Nike did to Kyrie. You look at what Chase did to Kanye. You look at all these mechanisms that were put in place, all the endorsements that were taken away from these guys, and we got upset for a moment because we're still people that make all of our decisions emotionally. And anytime you make emotional decisions, it's never going to last long. And that's why you're still wearing your Nike, you're still wearing your Adidas. And I know you say, I paid my money for that. Yeah, but the people that run the company showed you what they think about your people. Because they said, we don't care about your people. Long as y'all spend y'all money with us, we don't care how we treat y'all. These companies catered. Chase Bank told Kanye, take your money away. We don't want to do business with you anymore. How many of us still have accounts with Chase? And I know, you saying it didn't happen to me directly, but if we're going to stand, if we're going to truly boycott, we have to have something that we can depend on. Because these companies, according to, a pastor that I listened to, he said these companies staff their biggest supporters in the back to cater to the demands of people who do not even buy their product. Now you figure that out. But can we boycott long term? Right now we can't. But that's not to say we never can. But in order to do that long term, we're going to have to start building viable businesses, not nightclubs, that stuff that, so they can avoid income taxes and all that stuff. They change the name, grand opening Monday, grand closing Friday. You know what I'm talking about, stuff like that. You know, do we have a grocery store offering healthy foods and produce? Now, here recently, I just saw where this black guy just opened a farmer's market or a healthy produce store or something, maybe about 4 or 5 miles from my house. Right now, I'm not able to really go in and do a whole lot of things, so I haven't had a chance to check it out. But that's a step. That's a step in the right direction. Do we have a huge tire company that we can go into the neighborhood and build, and then thinking with a franchise type mindset and expand that across the nation? Or are we going to just depend on the big tire companies and go into all the other communities? Because there are none in our communities. We have to always go out. We have to go out and get healthy food and produce. Do we have insurance companies other than, the little small ones? And I'm not putting the small ones down because that's how you start out. But we have to start thinking bigger than one small company. Do we have accounting firms owned by black people in our communities around the country that have an expansion mindset? Do we have law practices that have the expansion mindset? Think about a lot of these law firms that advertise on television. They have offices all over the country. Do we have more than one doctor? There's one doctor I used to go to when I was in school to get my physicals for football. And his office is still down there. He has two locations in the city, but he's pretty much at the point where, he's aging out of his medical practice. And so, do we have doctors that are willing to come in, black doctors that are willing to come in and serve our communities? Do we have a financial planning office in our communities? No, we don't. We need somebody to help us with financial planning. That's why you got these guys these black guys pushing hard for reparations. I mean, they're pushing super hard for reparations. But these guys are saying they don't want the money put in the rest of black society's hands. They believe it should be a core group of people that they choose to manage the money for every other black person in this country. Can I tell you how that's going to end up? So we need financial planners within our communities to help us prepare not just for our future, but the future of our children and the future of our grandchildren. We need people that are looking out for our best economic interest. Because what did Kanye say when he showed them that image of all the group of people? That's who's been controlling our economic interests. The NAACP, controlled by that group of people. The Urban League, controlled by that group of people. The Civil Rights Movement, controlled by that group of people. The Black Lives Matter movement, controlled by that group of people. The feminist movement, controlled by that group of people. The unions, controlled by that group of people. Professional sports, controlled by that group of people. Entertainment, controlled by that group of people. So we need financial planners that's going to be, and they need to look like us. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but every other group has people that they go to that look like them. So why do we always have to go to people that don't look like us? And speaking of financial planning, I had went through the full orientation process years ago with one of the largest national firms, and I didn't like the parameters of what they were trying to get us to do to say we had the status in society. So I told them I wasn't interested after I went through the 4 week orientation. And a few years after, they called me back and told me they had changed a lot of things and they wanted me to come back in and talk to them, and I didn't. And you can't cry over spilled milk. I didn't go back and talk to them because at that point I was headed in a different direction. But I do have some regrets about not going to learn some of those things? Do we have clean, healthy restaurants in our communities? I mean, here where I live, there's a chicken wing place. And when the first first location was created, I mean their chicken was real good, and I think you could get a chicken and rice basket for right under $3. And the guy showed me a picture. He went in the location the other day, and you get 6 wings. And like back then, you used to get like 8 full wings, not these wing pieces. You get all 3 pieces: the tip, the drum, and the piece of leg. And that a 6 piece with rice is now $12.99. And I'll be honest with you, it's not healthy, but it sure tastes good. I don't know what it tastes like now because I haven't been there in years. Once I started I got sick the last couple of times I bought some from there years ago, so I'd never ate there again. But I'm just saying, do we have places, restaurants in our communities that can sell us something that's not fried? We get fried chicken. We get fried shrimp. We get fried fish. You know, we get pizza. Everything in our communities is fast food. And fast food is real high on a trans fat list. So we need some healthy restaurants, places where you could take your whole entire family and sit down and enjoy breakfast, enjoy lunch, enjoy dinner, or just go hang out and have a meeting, a facility where they have a room blocked off to if you want to have a business meeting or, a nice little uh, fancy dress up party or something, and you can enjoy yourself and it's a safe environment to eat in. So what about hospitals? Every hospital we have to go to for the most part is outside of our communities once again. Do we have any 24-hour emergency clinic or what they call urgent care centers in our communities? Do we have our own trucking companies? Do we have any product distribution centers that we own and control? Do we have any warehouses that we own and control? Do we have any manufacturing companies? And not in manufacturing, it's an industry that's kind of died out as far as American production is concerned. You still have some companies out there, but our manufacturing is large that went overseas. Do we have any tutorial type centers for our youth to go to after school and get help, where we could have some volunteers, maybe out of the education arena, out of the business owner arena, out of the financial planning arena, just to come in and tutor and teach and help and encourage? Do we have any of those things in our communities? Do we have any quality bakeries in our communities? You know, all the nice type bakeries where you can go get things are outside of our communities. And do we have any decent clothing stores? We have to go outside of our communities or online to get decent looking clothes. What about shoe stores? We don't have any of those. Do we have black professional landscaping companies? See, a lot of us say yeah, but what we have a lot of black lawn cutters. Most of your black men that are cutting grass don't want to cut hedges. They don't want to trim hedges. They don't want to trim trees. They don't want to do flower beds. They don't want to plant flowers in season, out of season, and things like that. So they're just cutters. And everybody else, these people are going to school now getting degrees in landscape and maintenance. And they're coming in and they're doing everything black men don't want to do when it comes to landscaping. So what does that do to the black community? Because like right now, the company that takes care of our yard is not black. And I'll be honest with you, I went through a lot of black ones, but we got this thing that we do real nice professional work to secure the account. But once we think we've gotten kind of cool and we think we can work out blackness, then our quality drops substantially. And then they start coming up with all these excuses. I had some black yard men, you know, wouldn't show up for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. Is that the way you do business? No, it's not. And so we need to change our mentality on how we do business as well. Do we have any hardware stores that the whole neighborhood could go and patronize? Look at what would happen within our neighborhoods alone if we could just keep that money exchanging our hands before it left. Because see what we're doing right now with all of these places that we don't have in our community, just that don't serve us, we go to that place, we take our money out of our pockets, out of our households, out of our neighborhoods, and we take it to other people who put it in their pocket and drive it to their household and take it to their neighborhood. So their neighborhoods gets empowered while we get unempowered. And so we're gonna have to learn how to empower ourselves. We're not doing it right now. And my wife and I had to go do blood work this morning. And we were coming back home, and we were out of our home for 6 months. And the day after we moved back, I went into the hospital, and been kind of in recovery mode since then. But before we moved out our house in July of 2021, there was a home down the street for sale. That home is still for sale down the street, but we get calls every day for somebody wanting to buy our house. And see, that's what's happening in our community. Since we're in a predominantly black neighborhood, we have access to a whole lot of, well, we have access to everything where we live. But why do they want to buy our house, but they don't want to buy the house down the street that's been on the market for a year and a half? See, we're going to have to start empowering ourselves, and see, we're going to have to stop screaming about this gentrification when we can't wait to get out of the black community. We don't want the houses in the black community. We want to go out and move into multicultural neighborhoods, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But we want to burn rubber on the black community, and then when other cultures come in and buy up the properties in our community, we want to say gentrification. No, we left it. And so we're gonna have to learn how to empower ourselves. We're gonna have to start learning how to take pride in black owned. We're gonna have to start learning how to take pride in black neighborhoods. We're gonna have to start taking pride in black communities. We're gonna have to start taking pride in black families. We're gonna have to start taking pride in black empowerment. Until then, we're only making short-term emotional decisions. If you want to punish this system, you have to starve the system longer than a day or a week with your dollars. Start taking your black dollars out of these other communities and watch what happens. Start putting it into yours and watch what happens. See, everybody, the hot topic right now is Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State and going over to Colorado. Hey, I'm not mad at Deion. Did y'all even understand the type of things that was happening to Deion while he was at Jackson State? First of all, he was donating part of his salary to assistant coach because the school wasn't paying the assistant coach enough. His car got broken into several times. His son's car got broken into several times. His players didn't have anywhere to shower. He said the alumni wasn't donating anything to the school or the program. But y'all want to say we pro black. You got prime time over there at Jackson State. And we mad because we talking about he hurting the SWAC. He hurting the black schools. I mean, we don't put our money where our mouth is. This guy, of course he didn't need the money going to Jackson State, but he shouldn't have had to endure those things over there. His son shouldn't have had to endure those things. And I'm pretty sure he and his son weren't the only vehicles that were getting broken into on a regular basis. But we got the nerve to complain. I ain't mad at it. If he did anything, he brought more attention to the SWAC by being there. Now, what y'all gonna do about supporting? So your dollars have to stay out of the larger society circulation if you want to do something. You're gonna have to learn how to barter with each other. Until then, you can't punish the system if your livelihood depends on it. Have a good day.